ladies and gentlemen, however you are listening, wherever you are listening, thank you so much. This is the Pile on podcast, where we love football and hate your opinion. My name is Donnie Drew, and I'm joined by my co-host Richie Bradshaw.
Hello, everyone.
And Skylar Burkhart.
What's up, guys?
We are now heading into week 5 of the NFL season, and thus this is our NFL podcast. If you're listening to this first, we also do a college football podcast every week. You go ahead and check it out. Same place you can find us. We're on iTunes. We're on Spreaker.com. You can find us on Instagram at the PTP Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, the Pile on Podcast. You send us questions over Gmail. The PTP Podcast at gmail.com. We're Facebook. We're everywhere. We're literally everywhere. We are the Darrelle Revis of podcasts, go to call us.
Leave that 5-star review.
Yeah, please and thank you. We need 5-star reviews like bears need honey. So please, whatever you could, go ahead and do that. We got a good NFL episode lined up for you guys today. Like I said earlier, week 5, we'll be breaking down a star running back returning to his team, the debuts of 2 rookie quarterbacks, and a little bit of fantasy football. But before we get into that, we're going to go ahead and do our week 4 roundup. Skylar, take it away.
Starting off on Thursday Night Football, Minnesota goes to the LA Rams, losing 38-31 in a nice shootout. Jared Goff throws for 5 touchdowns, starting off the week hot. Going into it, Detroit went to Dallas, lost 24-26. Ezekiel Elliott had a big day in fantasy. New York Jets went to Jacksonville. Jacksonville pulled off a big win at 31-12. Tampa Bay went to Chicago. Chicago actually surprised everyone, 48-10 shutout. Big day for Trubisky, 6 touchdowns thrown. Going into New England, Miami comes in thinking they could beat the New England Patriots. Obviously proven wrong. New England comes out hot, 38-7 New England. Atlanta, Cincinnati rolls into Atlanta, 37-36. Really good game, came down the wire, and AJ Green wins it for him, and Cincinnati pulls out the 37-36 upset. Buffalo comes into Green Bay thinking they're riding hot in their last win, thinking they can shut down Green Bay in their slow start. End up getting shut out again this season, 0-22. Really good game here, went to overtime. Philadelphia at Tennessee. Surprisingly enough, right at the end of overtime, Marcus Mariota throws a nice pass in the end zone to Davis for a touchdown to win in overtime, 26-23. Houston goes into Indianapolis. Houston pulls off a late win, 37-34. Debut here for Josh Rosen, gets his first loss of his career, 20-17 Seahawks win. Cleveland goes in Oakland. Overtime, Oakland kicks the game-winning field goal to win, 45-42. Baker Mayfield also loses his first start. New Orleans going into the Big Apple. New Orleans pulls on top, 33-18, stopping it with Alvin Kamara in a huge outing. Drew Brees didn't throw a touchdown on this game. San Francisco goes into LA, supposedly home turf. Looking into here, Chargers pull out late, 29-27, even with San Francisco's starting quarterback out. Here we go, the big matchup of the week for the Pile on podcast. Baltimore goes into Pittsburgh and puts a whipping, 26-14.
It's a 12-point win. I wouldn't say it's a whipping.
Division rival is pretty much a good whipping. Going into Monday night in a big thriller, Kansas City wins late, 27-23. Mahomes has a big day and looks like a real good quarterback in the NFL again.
Good deal. Thank you very much, Skylar. So we're going to go ahead and get into our quick hit segment. The most notable one was word got out via Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport that Le'Veon Bell is planning on returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers during their Week 7 bye, and then his first game back would be Week 8 against the Cleveland Browns. Thoughts?
Why? Why after the bye week? Why didn't he come back sooner?
Why come back at all?
That's true. Even why? James Conner's playing well, and I heard they're even going to split carries between the two. Why?
I say more why in the sense of, like, for Bell's purposes. Why bother?
You saw Earl Thomas get hurt and flip off the stands. I mean, he knew he shouldn't have came back at that point. Yeah. Why should Bell come back after seeing that?
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell even commented on that video
on that
of him
ESPN post. Yeah.
And it was like, I'll continue to be the bad guy for us. Don't worry about it. You know, and kind of to Richie's point, why come back? When on multiple levels. One, they don't want you back. There's been one person who's been vocal about Bell coming back, and that's been his teammate Antonio Brown. Your offensive linemen that block for you every play,
don't want you back.
They don't want you back. They've been bad-mouthing you this whole season. Why? Because you didn't show up. And it's funny how Le'Veon hasn't had contact with anybody in the organization at all. He hasn't talked to Mike Tomlin. He hasn't talked to Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, anybody. Nobody's heard from him. It's all been through his agent and through quote sources.
I think it's funny. We have gone into this year, and even last year and the year previously, talking about the Steelers' offensive line as being a top 5, maybe even a top 3 unit in the league. And they do have strengths. David DeCastro is one of the best guards in the league. But is it kind of telling that the Steelers' offensive line doesn't look as good without Bell behind them to make them look smarter?
Yeah, a little, because a big part of Bell's game is his patience, and I hate how everybody brings it up, but it's just a fact that needs to be talked about. His patience allows, them an extra second to finish off their blocks, to finally go to the second level and hit that linebacker. And, that's the big difference between a 2-yard gain and the 15-yard run.
I just think it's funny because they definitely made it seem like, we're the reason that you're getting paid. Doesn't look like it to me. In fact, it looks like he's the reason that you guys got so much attention. Maybe he's the reason Villanueva and Pouncey got their Pro Bowls over the last year or two. DeCastro earns it. Foster's fine. Gilbert's okay. The other 2 that have Pro Bowls, Pouncey has not been the same guy since he was continually injured.
Pouncey's been a little bit past his prime, and he does have an injury bug that's bitten him. And then I'm not sure you'll find a big fan of Alejandro Villanueva anywhere in Pittsburgh. He didn't deserve that Pro Bowl honor last year. Yeah, of course. He didn't deserve the Pro Bowl he got last year. And
this is something me and Papa Bradshaw talked about the other night, is he got his Pro Bowl last year because of his name, because of the team he played on, and the kind of character that he is.
Yeah.
He's fine. Dude, he can come play for Baltimore, just not for an excessive amount of money, and you'll be on the right side at best.
Do they even win more games with Bell, though? I mean, is it going to be that much of a factor?
Before this season, the Steelers had a winning record without Le'Veon Bell, and then they also scored more points per game without Bell as well. Granted, a lot of that time, D'Angelo Williams was in the backfield running the ball, and he was actually a really good find for agency for them a couple of years ago. But
he rushed for nearly 1,000 yards in 2015.
He did. But moving on, Le'Veon Bell set to return week 7 or week 8. He hasn't really specified yet. It'll be up to him. But all you fantasy owners out there, get ready for Bell to return to your lineups.
Connor, hit me up. Trying to get something moving with you. Wish you would get back to me. Love you.
All right, fellas, we're going to go talk about the best game of the week that we saw from week 4. Skylar, you and I were talking about this a little bit before the podcast, and go and give your opinion.
So I want to kind of break down just a tad. I thought, even though it started off the week really hot with the Rams and Vikings, because it's a shootout, everyone loves a high-scoring game that's all over the place. That had a lot of hype behind it, but then the last game of the week really caught my eye, and that was the Kansas City and Denver game, where it was just the Mahomes show. This guy can make every throw in the field, throwing left-handed at one point, getting sacked by Von Miller, and just throws it for the first down when they need it. This was a game down to the wire, and even the Broncos almost had a chance to come back and make it, but the little hook and ladder play didn't live up to what they were looking for.
Also, Demaryius Thomas was wide open down the sideline for that last couple of plays. Yeah, everybody was pointing at Case Keenum saying he overthrew it, but Demaryius Thomas stopped running his route.
Why do they hate Case Keenum? He's done nothing but help this team, and the wide receivers, well, basically Thomas, has given up on most plays.
He's better than what they've had, but Keenum's not the guy to throw 25 to 30 times a game.
But he can't.
Not with those running backs.
Well,
why the hell are they not running the ball more?
They were running so well that game, too.
They've run the ball well all year.
But yeah,
Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, to my knowledge, I'll double check this to be sure, but I was looking at this today. Yeah, hell yeah, Rolls Royce. Both of them are averaging over 5 yards a carry on the season. I'm going to double check that right now.
I think Philip Lindsay's averaging more from what I remember, but I mean, they're so unique in each run style they have, and one of them was undrafted, for crying out loud, and we're seeing so much talent. I think it's Philip Lindsay, am I correct?
I was just testing you. Yeah, no, Lindsay was undrafted, Freeman was a third-round pick.
Just think about it. These running backs coming late in late rounds or even undrafted, and they're doing this well. Like, use them to their potential. I mean, you didn't give up anything to get them, really. Use them, run them to the ground.
Freeman has a flat 5 yards per carry, and Lindsay has 5.9 yards per carry.
I think last time we saw that average was C.J. Spiller. I think the last time. Is that correct, I believe? CJ had like almost 6 yards per carry average those 2 years he had in Buffalo.
CJ Spiller?
Mm-hmm.
6 yards per carry in Buffalo.
Yes, sir. Not for a career.
Okay.
Just for those 2 years. The 2 years that he was full starter or like having majority of the
makes
handles.
sense. Okay.
Yeah, that 2012 year where he rushed for 1,200 yards, he did that on just over 200 carries.
Okay.
Like, just north. Like, not even double digits.
And we're seeing almost again. Why not you keep using him? It's insane.
Well, especially because, like we just talked about, Keenum's a good quarterback, but he's not the guy you want throwing the ball 25 times a game. Regardless of the fact that Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas make up one of the best duos at wide receiver in the entire league. He's still not. Well, stop.
I just don't like Thomas as his play of late in his drops.
Speaking of which, we ran out of time last week.
Yeah, I caught that in the last episode. Yeah.
So if time permits, we can dive into that, or we can save it for next week.
Up.
Yeah,
We'll see.
We'll see. We got a lot to talk about.
Ear. We do.
So who's your game of the week? Because I said mine. It's time to get to your guys's.
Oh, come on. What do you guys think Richie took for his game of the week? Come on, it's Sunday Night Football.
Division rivalry.
Look, the Baltimore Ravens came out to a really hot start. 14-0 lead through the first quarter. Very easily could have made that a 21-3 game before Alex Collins lost the football and really just kind of set in motion the opportunity for the Steelers to come back, and they did come back because it was tied 14-14 at halftime.
Yep.
And the Steelers had a lot of momentum going their way. Regardless of the fact that Marlon Humphrey and Brandon Carr played terrific games, you can only do so much to Antonio Brown. Humphrey had great coverage on that touchdown catch.
He did.
Even if he turns his head, I don't know if he can make that play because Brown just was outstanding. There's really nothing he can do. However, the Ravens are the first team since 2006 to not allow a touchdown in the second half of any game for the first 4 weeks of the year.
Crazy good.
It is, to put it kindly. And for the Ravens to be able to pinch down and shut down Pittsburgh in the second half of that game on the road on primetime football is extremely impressive. I was very happy as a Ravens fan, of course. I don't know what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger.
I'm not too sure either. He's hitting Juju Smith-Schuster just fine, but whenever it comes to Antonio Brown, just can't connect with him.
Oh, I want to rant about that for a second. Give me like 1 minute. Give me an early Denny Green minute.
No, do you want it?
No, because this isn't worth a whole minute.
Okay.
It was just me messing around.
Oh, you're good.
Antonio Brown prior to this week said, "I can't throw the ball to myself."
That was taken out of context.
I would certainly hope so, because he had 40 targets over the first 3 weeks of the year. He's on pace for over 200 targets. So can you give me a not taken out of context?
Yeah, so he was asked how his role kind of played into the team and how a lot of people take him selfish. Basically, he was like, hey, I can't do everything. I need to understand that. We need to win as a team. I can't, throw myself to football. Kind of saying, hey, I need to understand I can't do everything. I need to let other people step up and do their jobs. It's how we win. It's how we win as a team.
Well, thank you for explaining, because I did not take the time.
Oh, no, I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Well, it frustrated me because I'm sitting there like, mother trucker, you have 40-plus targets in 3 games. You can't throw the ball to yourself. And slow start, just because he's not catching touchdowns. Brown is still on pace for another 1,000-yard season, at least 90 catches. He's going to be fine.
So what's yours, Donnie? What's your game of the week?
I'm going to roll with you. I'm going to say Denver and Kansas City as well. I thought the last couple of Monday Night Football games has actually been really good despite the mediocre broadcast crew.
Hey, don't hate on Booger.
I'm not Booger's biggest fan, to be honest.
My dad loves Booger McFarland.
I'm not Jason Witten's biggest fan either.
Yeah, he's got some work to do in the booth, that's for sure.
But I thought it was really interesting to kind of see Pat Mahomes tear the league up the first 3 weeks of the season and then actually have to face a little bit of adversity and see how he handled it. And he handled it just fine. The Chiefs were down by double digits with around 10 minutes left, I think, and he was able to lead them to a comeback win. So
I was on a
That was good. That was
podcast
good.
earlier this week, and I brought that up. I said this is going to be a close game, and they're going to pull out the win. It's going to be a lot for Denver to win, but Chiefs are going to barely pull off the win. And everyone thought I was crazy, but I said this is his first defense that's really up there, that's a big challenging defense, and this is where we're going to see him tested, and he definitely was this game.
Moving into the injury roundup segment of the podcast, Sammy Watkins hurt his hamstring. He's currently unknown for next week, so it took him about 4 years to get over his last injury and recover fully. So we'll see what happens with the hamstring. Ezekiel Elliott reportedly has been playing with a couple of different injuries, mainly an ankle that he's been working through. He's currently questionable for next Sunday. Rob Gronkowski questionable for Thursday Night Football with an ankle injury, but according to a source close to him, it's, quote, not that serious. Let's see.
Eifert snapped his leg.
Yeah, Tyler Eifert broke his ankle. He's out for the rest of the season.
If you haven't seen that video, go watch it, but it's not for the faint of heart.
I feel so bad for that guy. T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle are not likely to play Thursday night as well. Randall Cobb questionable with a hamstring injury for next Sunday. Leonard Fournette out for out for an unknown amount of time, according to head coach Doug Marrone. O.J. Howard is also out for 2 to 4 weeks with a sprained MCL.
The Fournette injury has to be considered brutal, but
Predictable almost?
no, not predictable. Easily overcome. You hear me out. Because Leonard Fournette is a premier running back in the league. However, we've seen this time and time again. When you want to rush a hamstring injury, you're going to re-aggravate it.
Yep.
Guaranteed. Every single time. Flashback to, I think, 2011 or 2010, and Andre Johnson only played 5 games that season. He missed like 6 games with a hamstring, and he came back. He was like, oh, I'm fine. And then he aggravated his hamstring again, and he missed the rest of the season. And it's just one of those things where it's like, dude, we get it. You're passionate. You want to play the game. I love the energy. You can't rush a hamstring injury because it's a nagging kind of injury. It doesn't have to be a season-ending thing. It's just one of those things where if you're not 100%, don't play on it. Because you're going to do exactly what Fournette did.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
now he's out for an undisclosed amount of time.
Right. Sometimes you could actually end up hurting your team more than you actually want to help them. So,
but to my other point about how it's overcomable, remember just a few years ago how excited a lot of us, especially me, were for TJ Yeldon coming out of Alabama.
yeah, a lot of us were.
He looked the part of a complete 3-down back. He had solid hands. He was that patient kind of runner. Not to compare to Le'Veon at all. But this would have been a better comparison for Kerryon Johnson coming out, was TJ Yeldon when he was coming out of Alabama. Was this patient guy who could set up his blocks. He was big enough to create his own space and pick up his own yardage, but he wasn't going to run you over. Yeldon has looked very solid. And when we get to our fantasy segment towards the end, he's definitely going to be one of the guys I highlight if you haven't picked him up yet. The Jaguars seem to be okay without Fournette. It's upsetting because of how great Fournette is, but I think we need to start paying attention to how good of a player TJ Yeldon is.
For sure. Going into the main meat of our podcast, and speaking of the main meat, you want to go ahead and see these guys like TJ Yeldon or Leonard Fournette whenever he comes back. Go ahead and go to SeatGiant.com. Great ticketing website for all your ticketing needs, sports events, concerts, whatever you might need. SeatGiant.com has it. Type in the promo code PYLON, PYLON, for an additional discount on already great savings. So we're going to go and dive into 2 rookie quarterbacks that were highly anticipated to make their first starts of their career in Week 4. We're going to talk about Baker Mayfield for the Browns, who went to Oakland, and then Josh Rosen, who played at home against the Seahawks. We're going to start about Baker Mayfield first. Skyler, take it away.
Baker played pretty good. I mean, they were going back and forth this game. No one thought Oakland was even had a chance in this game. I saw a lot of predictions where Cleveland was going to win flat out. Raiders didn't have a chance. And Derek Carr played a good game, but let's look at Baker. This guy's making big boy throws down the field. Granted, he's still having fumbling issues, but he's making all the right throws you want to see on the field.
He is, for the most part. He threw 2 picks, and one of them was really boneheaded. He's going to have those growing pains, though. You can't just expect him to come out and perform at an Aaron Rodgers level. I think if you're a Cleveland fan, you actually, for the first time in a while, have to be really excited about what you've seen out of your rookie first-round pick quarterback. Baker's already showing off way more potential than guys like Brandon Weeden and Johnny Manziel ever freaking did. Baker looks like a legitimate future for them.
And he actually has a team around him, too. It's not like it's not like he's being thrown into this hellstorm of a Browns team that we've seen them do so much with these young guys. But Baker's stat line had a 51.2 completion percentage, threw for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of them boneheaded, which was at the end of the game. His first one, though, on his very first drive, went right through the hands of Antonio Callaway. That was actually the one that got returned for a pick 6, so I'm not pinning that on him. He should have had a W, but the referees kind of hindered that. We'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit later. I thought it was what you expected from a rookie quarterback debut. I thought Todd Haley did a really good job of just having,
Did that hurt to say?
It did, yeah. Boy, did it. I thought Todd Haley did a really good job of simplifying the offense for Baker. A lot of his throws were just simple, like one-read throws, kind of like how he had in college at Oklahoma. But, I'm just happy. It's just basic short reads for him to make. There's a lot I liked about this guy moving forward. He's definitely the leader that you want in your quarterback. And while they didn't get the win, kind of like Richie and you said, Skyler, as well, there's a lot to like in Cleveland right now. More beer fridges, please.
Yes, more beer fridges. I mean, he's only getting better every week, too. There's a lot to like about this guy. And he's mobile. A lot of the new quarterbacks coming out of college, they're mobile. They can run. They don't just sit in the pocket. They can kind of move the chains for you in other ways.
Yeah, Baker's really just going to be able to open up this offense entirely. I think the most encouraging thing about this performance for him is Jarvis Landry was not spoon-fed the ball. You saw Baker spreading the ball around. You saw what he did at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Find open man, hit open man. And that's exactly what you want to see is a guy who's not going to be completely dependent on one guy. You want to see him be able to spread that ball around. Now, of course, for fantasy purposes, why the hell aren't you throwing to Jarvis Landry a little more? But for the purpose of watching a guy progress and grow and learn more about the professional level of this game, that's an extremely encouraging sign to see.
Yeah, it's really nice because a lot of rookie quarterbacks tend to grab onto that one guy they look to. And
Cam Newton with Steve Smith, yep. Andrew Luck with Reggie Wayne.
Yep. And the more you see it, the more you kind of believe it. Baker, while Jarvis Landry is his number one target, like you said, Rich, he does a really good job of distributing the ball well. Darren Fells got a touchdown.
That old man.
I know, man.
Old man Fells.
But moving on, we're going to go talk about Josh Rosen's first start as well. Had a 55.6 completion percentage, 180 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, at 88.5 passer rating. This is a tale of two things for me. Number one, you can either look at the numbers, or number two, you can look at the film. Numbers don't scream great debut, but whenever you actually turn on the film and you watch him throw the football, it's something else.
I mean, and his wide receivers were dropping the ball throughout the game. We were talking to Connor last week, me and Richie, and he didn't even want Rosen to start the whole year. He was like, I don't even want to come in. I want him to learn. I want him to be safe. And lo and behold, they put him in this game. And he performed just like you would want him to. He was command of the offense. He made big throws. He had zip on the ball. And the offense really took to him. Just the only thing is the drops, because his percentage would have been a lot higher for completions if his receivers were catching the ball.
Totally. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people were splitting hairs when it came to opinions on Rosen, but he really was one of the most pro-ready quarterback prospects to come into this draft class. My biggest complaint with him was he tried to make the hero throw a lot of times in his time at UCLA, and it led to boneheaded interceptions. And we've seen that a little bit in his professional career thus far, to include the preseason. But that touchdown pass to Chad Williams, was pretty.
Well, even the one to the tight end, I forget which tight end it was. I think it was Ricky Seals, where he threw it across and they compared it to the Herbert throw in Oregon. And it was almost the same thing. Beautiful, anticipated, right in the breadbasket. Perfect.
It's one thing for these guys to find the open man, like Baker had to do in Oakland.
It's another thing.
It's another thing to throw them open.
Yes.
And, there were a couple throws that were ruled incomplete just because the receiver didn't get his feet down, that Josh Rosen was putting in double coverage, putting them in tight windows, letting his receivers go up and get it. He was making, Skylar, you said Baker was making, like, big boy throws. Josh Rosen was making grown-ass man throws.
Exactly.
Sunday.
If the receiver wasn't catching it, no one was catching it.
And to your point about that Ricky Seals-Jones pass, do you guys know who was in coverage?
For Seattle?
Was it Earl Thomas?
Bobby Wagner
yeah.
was in coverage.
Oh, that's right.
Wagner didn't even know the ball was coming because by the time the ball's there, Seals-Jones has had his head turned and Wagner has no idea what's coming. Because not only is Wagner arguably the greatest middle linebacker in football right now, but if he knows that throw's coming, he's probably picking that off. But the fact that he's able to, like we just talked about, throw RSJ open, but then to, in the same sense, pick on one of the best defenders in the league and just say, yeah, I'm not really afraid of you. I see exactly where I want to throw this football, and I'm going to friggin' throw that football there.
The confidence screams it.
Confidence. The cockiness. Come on, we all know
that smirk he raised.
Yeah, dude,
you see this press conferences, that smirk he has.
That was the knock on Rosen coming out, was that he was a little bit too full of himself.
Yeah, he's that Palm Springs cocky little shit who, had the silver spoon in his mouth. And while all this is true, and he has admitted it is true, this kid is a football player through and through. And yeah, the Cardinals didn't get the win. The Cardinals aren't going to get many wins this year. But Rosen showed you a lot on Sunday. So to the Browns fans and the Cardinals fans who have been begging for franchise quarterbacks, if 1 week we're allowed to overreact, you guys found them.
That's it. Yeah, congratulations.
It took a long-ass time, but you know what? It's going to be worth it. If we get to do our 1 week overreaction, you guys have your franchise quarterbacks. Now just let them gel.
Put talent around them. Please. Yeah.
Put young talent around them, looking at the Cardinals.
Speaking of assembling talent, Eric Reed was finally signed this past week, signed a contract.
What does that have to do with assembling talent?
The Panthers, they're assembling talent.
Because they need help.
What
because they need help. Ooh. You don't like Eric Reed as a football player?
He's overrated.
Really?
Anyways.
I thought he was one of the best safeties on the market.
He was good for his time in San Francisco for the couple years, but he really did kind of decline. He wasn't a bad safety.
Yeah, so Eric Reed signed a 1-year contract with the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be worth around $2 million, depending on incentives and what he's able to do.
Allegedly, he had turned down a multi-year contract extension with the 49ers to sign this 1-year prove-it deal with Carolina.
Amazing.
Kind of stick it to the 49ers, Mike.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, especially
all
after
new
what
management.
happened.
Everything's different from San Francisco, so it's weird for him to all of a sudden just kind of scorn him about it.
I think it's kind of attached to the name.
Previous,
the brand, kind of, yeah. But it's especially the fan base as well. I'm sure the fan base doesn't have a lot of good things to say about him.
But Carolina needs him for how they're playing right now. Their defense has injuries. They need that safety help to kind of solidify that defense.
I was about to say, in a division where you're going to be playing Matt Ryan and Drew Brees twice a year, you definitely need a guy like Reed back there to help your defense.
Julio Jones, Mike Thomas, Mike Evans. Yeah, you're going to need that safety help.
Yeah, you absolutely are, especially like Donnie just alluded to. With the way that Matt Ryan and Drew Brees have been playing this year, look, even at the end of the day, with the way that Tampa has been getting production from their quarterbacks, yeah, Fitzpatrick had one really bad week to the point where he got bent for Jameis Winston, and we all know that Winston can be good. Point being, this conference is loaded with quarterback talent. You're definitely going to need that back-end help. And at the end of the day, not only is Reed the best option on the market, he was probably the best option for your team, including what you had. When's the last time you could tell me Carolina had a safety that put the fear of God in you? Roman Harper in his prime? Maybe?
Roman Harper. That was the last bona fide safety they had.
And that's, I'm sorry, but that's not saying much because at no point in time was
good. I liked him.
He
wasn't like a Cam Chancellor where you're like, shoot, there's Roman Harper.
He's not even a Malcolm Jenkins.
No.
He's not a Tony Jefferson. He's not a Terrell Ed.
You're cute.
Baby, I love you.
You're cute. But no, Reed was a good signing by the Panthers, and we'll see if he's actually in football shape. So, took a little bit of time off for, whatever reason. We're not going to talk about that. So the next thing we had on our list was actually going to be talking about officiating problems. But, no, during while you guys were talking, somebody brought up the whole quarterback reduction by Tampa Bay. That was Richie. I actually want to throw that out the window really quick. Yeah, Jameis Winston was already named the starter for next week in Tampa Bay. Thoughts? Do you think they're pulling the trigger a little bit too quick on Jameis?
They're definitely pulling the trigger too quick. They're trying to get back to the comfort zone having Winston, but I would give them a shorter leash than what they're giving. They should wait another week or two before you give Winston the ball back.
Many people assumed Tampa Bay would be picking in the top 5 of this upcoming draft class, putting it nicely. Many people believed that the entire organization, to include head coach Dirk Cutter as well as general manager Jason Light and the rest of the front office and coaching staff entirely, was on the hot seat. Many people believed Tampa Bay was a dumpster fire. So what this tells me, even though they're sitting at 2-1 on the year, and not 2-1, 2-2, they're 2-2 on the year.
Yeah.
Here's what I will tell you, because I don't know if you guys saw Dirk Cutter's comments following the loss this weekend. He said, after that game, you fire everyone starting with me. So,
let's do it.
First of all, yes, let's do it. Second of all, clearly Cutter is now embracing, and the rest of that organization is probably embracing the fact that, we're probably on borrowed time right now. We need to see what we have moving forward. And this is entirely one of those things where this current establishment has their ankle tied to Winston. So Winston will save their jobs, or he will cost them their jobs. And right now, Fitzpatrick is not going to do that. So you need to tie yourself to Winston. You need to say, hey, man, our jobs are on the line. Your job is on the line. You need to win football games for us, and you need to perform at a high level for yourself as well. Or all of us are going to be looking for work outside of Tampa Bay.
Well, it was weird because whenever he was suspended that 3-game stretch and they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, we all kind of had this feeling that, hey, even if Fitzpatrick does good, and he did extremely well the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, there's this overwhelming sense that, hey, whenever Winston comes back, this is his team, regardless of how Fitzpatrick pans out. And, last week, Fitzpatrick started the game, completed 50% of his balls through an interception, had a 49.8 quarterback rating, and then they throw Jameis Winston into the game. And, this is kind of being played in the motion. We saw the puzzle pieces coming together where Winston was going to come in. My kind of qualm with this is that you're 2-2 right now. You weren't supposed to be 2-2. You were supposed to be 0-4. And, you essentially are on borrowed time. I can't talk tonight. You're essentially on borrowed time. Are you selling out for a losing season as well? Are you preparing yourself to pick in the top 5? Because that's what this move tells me. I think Fitzpatrick is the better starter moving forward for the near future. For the near future, I think Fitzpatrick should be the guy if you want to win football games.
I agree.
I'm gonna go back to my point in the sense of they're on borrowed time, and Winston's the only thing that's going to be able to save them. So if Winston can win that team an 8-8 record, they might get another year. But if Winston can't get them to 6 wins or 7 wins, everyone's gone. Fitzpatrick could lead them to a 9-7 record. They're probably leaving anyways.
Yep.
Winston is the only thing that will give anyone in that organization, not named the owner, a chance to stay at Raymond James. So at the end of the day, that is not a team that's going to win 8 games. Yeah. The writing's on the wall as far as I'm concerned. But if there's a chance for them to save their jobs, it's going to lie in the hands of Jabba Wins and no one else.
Well, going from a quarterback that might not have a job next year with his current team, to a quarterback who's probably going to be the face of the franchise for at least 10 years plus moving forward if all goes according to plan. Patrick Mahomes, a.k.a. Showtime. By the way, I don't like that nickname. I think it sounds a little bit forced.
Lazy.
Hello? Is this Aaron Rodgers? No, this is Patrick.
I'm not a big fan of the nickname. I call him Patty Ice, if anybody wants to hop on that train with me.
No, you already had Matty Ice.
Homie.
Lame.
No.
Regardless of what you want to call him, you can also call him a winner. Got Kansas City to a 4-0 record after a come-from-behind win on Monday Night Football. This Chiefs offense, manned by head coach Andy Reid, he's done a phenomenal job. He doesn't get the credit he deserves when it comes to offensive masterminds around the NFL. How much longer can we expect this train to keep rolling for Kansas City? Because we can reasonably expect at some point Patrick Mahomes will look human. He'll make a couple mistakes, and the Chiefs aren't going to go undefeated. They're going to run into a brick wall somewhere.
That might not look human on Monday night.
No, he did, but he was able to pull himself out of it and erase a double-digit deficit and lead into a win.
I think next week's the week. Week 5.
Yeah, they host Jacksonville Jaguars next week. The number 1 defense in the league. And, is this the week it happens?
It has to be. You're playing against some of the best, arguably the 2 best corners in the league. So he's definitely going to be tested. This is going to be his big moment to prove the doubters wrong. Hey, you had a hot start. You didn't play against good defense except for week 4 against Broncos. You're playing against the best now. This is your time to show what you got.
I'm sorry. I feel like we did see a human Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, no, we did.
And
Good.
No, all I was going to say is I feel like we're figuring out Mahomes, and I feel like he's just a step ahead of everyone.
You can, the whole, hey, we have film on this guy, we can break him down. That's fine. But what Patrick Mahomes does is, he throws that film away. You can study all you want from him. He's still able, like you said, Richie, he's a step ahead. He's still able to make throws.
He's mobile,
He's still
too.
able to make plays.
He can extend the plays, as you saw many times on Monday Night Football. Run out of the pocket. He does a pump fake. I mean, he could throw left-handed for crying out loud. This guy knows what's coming, and he can adapt to it.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to ask, it's going to slow down at some point, but do you think he'll hit a brick wall when it comes to his production? Or, do you think Andy Reid's smart enough to kind of keep him within his realms of possibilities?
I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, one of the most brilliant individuals to ever grace the game of football with his offensive mind. To me, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I can't name 3 guys who innovated an offense better than Andy Reid has. The only person I will give an edge to is Bill Walsh.
What about Don Coryell?
I think I'd go Reid.
Really?
I do.
In terms of innovation?
Not so much innovation, because Coryell completely, Eric Coryell.
Yeah.
He completely turned a phase into the NFL. I just think that Andy Reid knows how to work with whatever you give him. He is the MacGyver of offensive coordinators. You give him Patrick Mahomes, Torrey Smith, Eric Fisher, a 60-year-old Tony Gonzalez, and J.J. Watt at tight end, and he's going to find a way to make that team a top 5 offense.
So kind of wrapping this Patrick Mahomes talk, is this going to be a confidence check going against the Jacksonville Jaguars? And if this hits his confidence, does this affect him going forward, or does Andy Reid keep him productive?
No, because you only run into a team like Jacksonville once a season, if at all, if you're not inside their division. So, even if Jacksonville is able to kind of shut Mahomes down like we're all thinking they might, I think he'll be able to bounce back just fine. And like Richie said, it's a big part on Andy Reid's role with the offense.
I don't see any flaws with this offense. Besides Eric Fisher, my God, he looked terrible. Did you guys see where, Bradley Chubb should have had a sack because of how quickly he jumped the snap? But Fisher was so off balance out of the snap that he basically just kind of fell off and just went completely horizontal on Bradley Chubb. I feel like in his mind was just like, really? All right, bye. See?
Really, now?
Look
really?
out!
An octopus,
yeah. That would have been his excuse to Mahomes when he's picking him out of the dirt. Hey, that rookie's like an octopus, man. Don't make fun of the way Mahomes talks.
I won't. Okay. Moving on to our Week 5 win-loss predictions. We're going to go ahead down the stretch of games, give a little background to it, say whether or not we think who's going to win. Thursday Night Football, the Colts are traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. Colts are 1-3, Pats are 2-2. What are we thinking?
Pats.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots as well.
Roll Tide. Sorry. Patriots.
Roll Tide. Oh, man. The Broncos visit the Jets at MetLife Stadium. First 10 o'clock game. 1 o'clock game Eastern, 10 o'clock our time.
Broncos.
Give me the Jets at home.
I'll take the Broncos as well. Giants visit the Panthers. Giants currently sit at 1-3. Panthers are at 2-1.
Panthers.
Panthers are one of the best teams that no one's talking about. Yeah, give me Carolina.
Especially with Christian McCaffrey.
Dolphins visit Paul Brown Stadium to take on the Bengals. Both teams are at 3-1.
I mean, after the performance the Dolphins put on last week, it's hard to favor them anymore. I'm going to go with Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are kind of on a mission this season to prove to everyone that they're not as bad as we were all kind of assuming they were going to be. And look, Tannehill's been fantastic, but one of these is going to give, and I'm going to take the home team this week. Welcome to the jungle, Ryan Tannehill.
All right, the Ravens travel to First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio to take on the 1-2-1 Browns in another divisional matchup.
Look, I think this is going to be a closer game than a lot of us, including myself, are going to be willing to admit. I still just don't see how a 3-1 Baltimore Ravens team that just went into Pittsburgh on primetime football and got a pretty convincing win, regardless of the fact, you won by 4 field goals. You still won by 2 possessions on primetime football against a team that has embarrassed you the last couple of years, quite frankly. I think this is a Ravens team that's out to prove something. I think Cleveland could easily catch them sleeping, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens on the road.
I'll take Cleveland.
Really?
I'll take Cleveland. I think they're really motivated this year. These guys are almost winning football games every week. I think this week they're going to be angry, and they're going to want their revenge, and they're going to get the win. It's going to be closer, like Richie said.
Yeah, I'll just take Baltimore. I'll take one of the best defenses in the league, and I'll take an offense that, continues to almost find their way every single week. They look like they're getting better. So
yeah, Joe Flacco looks like a completely new man this season.
Packers travel to Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. Packers sitting at 2-1-1. The Lions 1-3. Their only victory coming against the New England Patriots.
Give me Detroit.
Really? I'll take Green Bay.
I really like the running back situation in Detroit. I think they're going to start giving the reins to Kerryon Johnson, and their wide receivers are really good, all 3 of them. So I think Detroit's going to get the win.
Yeah, I'm smelling an upset here too. Give me Detroit at home over a Packers team that is underachieving this year. I don't think Detroit's a better team by any stretch of the imagination. I think that even though Green Bay is going to come into this game pissed off, I think Detroit's got something to prove here, and they're just going to catch the Packers sleeping.
The game we're all going to be keeping our eye on, regardless of whenever our personal teams play. Jaguars is the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Jaguars are 3-1. The Chiefs are perfect 4-0. The matchup of the week. Skyler, you look stressed out trying to think of who's going to win. Who do you have?
I hate going against the undefeated team, but I think this is the week that Jacksonville's defense gets the best of Mahomes, and we see their first loss.
I don't see Mahomes slowing down anytime soon. I'm going to take Kansas City at home.
I'll roll with Jacksonville's defense, and, I'll just hope that Blake Bortles can continue to true up a Chiefs defense that just hasn't been very good this year at all.
One of the worst.
So. Titans travel to Buffalo and Orchard Park, New York to take on the Bills. Titans, a surprising 3-1.
A very quiet 3-1.
Yeah, nobody's really talking about them at all. And the Bills are kind of what we thought they would be underneath Josh Allen. So,
look, Marcus Mariota looked completely reinvented last week. I think he might finally be starting to find his groove again for the first time since 2016.
Go ahead and Titans.
Give me. Not just give me the Titans. Give me the Titans by 20.
Ooh, okay.
I'll take the Titans as well. And Corey Davis is finally showing up. Good thing for fantasy owners and also good as their number 1 wide receiver. I love it. Give me Titans.
Yeah, not just Corey Davis. Welcome back King Henry this week. He's going to run wild.
Ooh, all right.
Falcons travel to Heinz Field to take on the Steelers in what's supposed to be a very high-scoring affair. I'll take the Falcons.
I'll take the Falcons,
Yeah,
too.
I'll take the Falcons.
Calvin Ridley's a new man, and he's a monster. I'm giving the Falcons.
I think that the Falcons have been one of the most disappointing teams in the league this year. And I think Pittsburgh is finally going to step up and get pissed off. And they're going to get a win at home against the Atlanta Falcons, which going into the year we would have thought would have been a lot more impressive.
I'll drink that. Win's a win.
Matt Ryan, first quarterback in NFL history to post a quarterback rating above 130 over the last 2 weeks and go 0-2.
They just can't seem to pull out close games.
Well, their defense is so riddled with injuries right now. I mean, their 3 star players they paid in the offseason are injured. I mean, that hurts a lot.
Raiders go to the poor excuse of a soccer stadium that the Los Angeles Chargers play in, starting off the afternoon set of games. I'll take the Chargers at home.
I'll take the Chargers, too, in their pitiful stadium.
Nope, this is where it all starts to turn around. Oakland's going to go ahead and steal another game away this week.
Why are you confident in Oakland?
I'm not confident in Oakland.
All right.
I am
Sold it really well.
I am even less confident in the Chargers.
Oof.
Okay, I like that. The Vikings taking on the Eagles, 125 game. This matchup should have been a lot more highly anticipated, we thought, at the beginning of the year, but both teams with a 500 record or worse right now. But Philadelphia playing at home against Minnesota, I'll take the Eagles with Carson Wentz getting healthier.
Yep. Yeah, give me the Eagles. The Vikings have been extremely disappointing, and this goes beyond the fact that Buffalo completely embarrassed them. This Vikings defense is just
Lost.
Not what we're used to seeing. Meanwhile, the Eagles are starting to find their groove again with Carson Wentz, regardless of the fact that they dropped a game against Tennessee in overtime this past weekend. I think that Wentz and Ertz are just going to keep igniting that flame that they had last season. They had it going again this past weekend. I don't see any way that the Vikings are able to slow them down.
Give me Vikings. Their offense is high powered. They're going to score a lot. Philadelphia has a good defensive line, don't get me wrong, and the Vikings have a bad offensive line, but they kind of stepped up against the Rams this week, the offensive line. I think they're going to start piecing it together, and I think Minnesota's going to be too much for the Philly defense to handle.
The 0-4 Cardinals travel to Santa Clara, California to take on the 1-3 49ers. Had Jimmy G be playing, I would really like to see this Jimmy G versus Josh Rosen matchup. But fortunately, torn ACL later, we don't get to watch that. CJ Beathard currently at the helm of the 49ers. Where are we trending towards?
49ers.
No. Congratulations, Arizona. This is your first one of the year.
Yeah, I'll also take the Cardinals as well.
In fact, this is going to be Josh Rosen's coming out performance against a San Francisco 49ers defense that is not inspiring at any place in that. In all 11 spots, there's not a single spot that I go, wow, look at that. With the exception of DeForest Buckner, who is an absolute animal. In the meantime, yeah, Rosen's going to have himself a field day.
Yeah, and I think David Johnson's going to be a big part of that, too.
Hopefully.
I think Mike McCoy finally figured out that, hey, David Johnson's good. We should probably hand him the ball a little bit more.
Go ahead and peg me down. Bold prediction of the week. Patrick Peterson will have multiple turnovers. I'm not saying multiple picks. Patrick Peterson will have multiple turnovers this week.
Oh, yeah, sounds good. The LA Rams, sitting at a nice and pretty 4-0, quite possibly the best team in the league, travel to a very tough CenturyLink field
To stop the living piss out of them.
All right, I think we know who you're leaning towards.
No. The Rams are going to stomp the hell out of the Seattle Seahawks, especially with Earl Thomas gone. Bobby Wagner's the only thing on their defense. They're just going to keep stomping.
I would tend to agree. I think the Rams are going to march into Seattle and walk away with an easy W.
Mark me down for another upset.
No.
Really?
No.
No, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
In years past, when the Seattle Seahawks were dominant, we would mark them down every year to just wipe the floor with the Rams, and the Rams said, fuck no, you're not just going to walk over us. That's the Seahawks mentality now. The Rams are going to walk into this game and go, yeah, we're just going to kick you to the side of the curb, and the Seahawks are going to go, no, look at these personalities. We're going to be pissy. We're going to give you a hard time. I think Russell Wilson is going to have himself a hell of a performance this week. I think the run game is actually going to click and get something going for Seattle. And I think someone's going to step up in that secondary by the name of Shaquille Griffin and come away with a couple of turnovers. I think Seattle catches the Rams sleeping, and suddenly the two teams in Missouri are no longer undefeated.
Wait.
Nice shot there.
Man.
Quick stat for you guys. Russell Wilson has been sacked the most by the Rams, so look out for that.
He's been sacked the most everywhere.
The Rams have sacked him the most, and Aaron Donald is his favorite.
No. All right. Well, the Sunday night football game, we get a nice little Texas barbecue roast here. Cowboys going to NRG Stadium to take on the Texans.
Sunday night football has not been good this year.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Thursday night football's been better than
Thursday night football has been better than
weird.
Sunday night football this year.
They kind of met. They flipped the script, and they should have just been like, "Hey, let's move on the afternoon games to the night game."
In that awful Sunday night intro song.
It's terrible.
I haven't even had a chance to hear it yet, and from what I understand, I'm not missing anything.
Who we like in this game?
I think Houston. Houston's starting to get on a roll in their offense.
You can pick a tie.
That was looking like a good trend to start the year. Give me the Texans at home in NRJ Stadium. We got to touch on this a little bit. J.J. Watt is back, ladies and gentlemen. 5 sacks over the last 2 weeks, 4 forced fumbles through the first 4 games of the season, and a beat-up Cowboys offensive line. JJ's going to get going. Jump man.
Them boys up to some.
J.J. Watt is up to something.
The Monday Night Football game to conclude week number 5. The Redskins travel to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Nice
New Orleans.
There. New Orleans, not New Orleans, like you said earlier.
New Orleans.
The Redskins travel to take on the Saints. Both teams have 1 loss on the record. Skins coming off of the bye and the long week. Very nice for them. I'm taking the Saints. I'm taking the Saints at home. I think the welcome back party of Mark Ingram will continue to.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right
well,
there.
yeah.
Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara are going to feast.
The only thing I worry about is the Saints stopping the Redskins rushing attack with Chris Thompson and Adrian Peterson.
agree. I was going to point that out, too. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than a lot of people anticipate. I don't think it's going to be super close. I think New Orleans pulls out late. So I think they're going to maybe win by like 10 points.
Well, we know that pulling out late would really upset Connor. Boys, just a fun little question just off the top of my head. Is Adrian Peterson going to rush for 1,000 yards this year?
No.
No, I don't think he will.
800.
I think we'll slow down.
800. That'll be his cap.
I think 800 is still an outstanding season for a 33-year-old washed-up guy like him.
Yep, for sure. Moving on to our fantasy segment of the show. We're just going to go around and give you a sleeper, somebody to start, somebody to sit, and then our all-star of the week. Let's go ahead and around the room. Skylar, we'll go ahead and point you first. Give me a sleeper for week number 5.
There's a lot of good sleepers this week. I mean, a lot of people are starting to step up. I want to bring to Galladay as my sleeper this week. I love saying him, but a lot of people say him as a start, but I think he's a sleeper in Green Bay right now because everyone's going to be locked up on Jones and Tate, so I think he's going to be the performer this week.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take John Brown versus the Cleveland Browns.
I like that one.
John Brown has been probably the best receiver on the Ravens so far. Richie, I don't know if you can back me up on that. Yeah, good though.
Definitely.
You're good. No, you're good.
Definitely.
Brown currently leads the team in receiving yards. Then he also has 6+ plays of 20 yards or more. He doesn't get a whole bunch of catches. He's not a PPR machine, but boy, if he's not a big, deep threat that you could put in your flex spot, he's a guy you can love every week.
I'm going to go ahead and give you a deep sleeper. Hayden Hurst.
Okay.
First round tight end for the Baltimore Ravens in this past draft. Finally coming back healthy after a foot surgery, put him in question for the first start of the quarter of the season. Will be coming back. The Ravens the last 2 years have had a tight end lead their team in receptions. Hayden Hurst was selected in the first round to be that guy. Look, Max Williams, Nick Boyle, and Mark Andrews have all looked very serviceable. Mark Andrews looks fantastic. Not to toot my own horn there because I loved that pick when it happened. But Hayden Hurst is going to be the guy. If he's completely healthy, he's going to be the starter. He's going to be heavily featured in this offense. If you guys are in PPR leagues, I would look for Hurst to be a routine starter moving forward.
Scott, give me somebody you should sit.
Dalvin Cook, sit him. Don't start him anymore until we see something.
Don't start him.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
We're gonna go ahead and say
he's not a starter.
We're saying Travis Kelce versus the Jaguars. we saw what they were able to limit Gronk to. And I think while Kansas City's offense has more talent, obviously, than the Patriots, I think the Patriots just have a better way of like scheming things out as a team on whole. If all goes to plan like we think, Jacksonville's going to not shut Kansas City down completely, but they're going to kind of pump the brakes on that high-flying offense. And I think Kelsey not doing a lot is going to be a big problem for them.
Good point.
Look, if you're starting any kind of Washington wide receivers at this point in your fantasy league, you're probably struggling at the receiver position, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that you should just sit any of those guys that you have, whether that be Jamison Crowder or Josh Doxson or whoever the hell else is on that roster. I just don't trust any Washington receivers at the moment. I really would just stay away from everything not named Jordan Reed or Christian Thompson. Chris Thompson, excuse me. Or Alex Smith. But skill position wise, yeah, I'm not starting anyone that's catching passes in Washington until I see some established chemistry. Paul Richardson, that's the other guy.
Okay, yeah, Paul Richardson. I forgot about him. Skylar, give me somebody that is pound the table 100%. You need to start this guy.
Julian Edelman out of New England. His return is back, and it's going to be better than ever going against the Colts. Tom Brady loves his weapon. He's going to go crazy with this dude this week.
So actually I had a couple different guys I was mulling over. I think Matt Ryan versus Pittsburgh is going to be like a really good start. I think TJ Yeldon versus the Chiefs is going to be a really good start. But my guy that I'm circling this week is going to be Eric Ebron versus the Patriots on Thursday Night Football.
He's been performing on this team.
He has, and with T.Y. Hilton about to be out and Jack Doyle also about to be out as well. I think it's going to be targets galore for him. So, he's been doing a really good job this year of making the most out of his opportunities, despite dropping a couple balls in the end zone. But, if you need a tight end to plug and play, I think Ebron's definitely the guy.
He's taking away that bust label.
Yeah, he is.
I'm
yes.
Totally drawing a blank. Can you go while I remember what I was going to say?
Yeah, so...
okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just remembered.
He did it.
You looked at me, and I looked into those deep, deep eyes of yours.
What color are my eyes?
Purple.
Gotcha.
It's Mark Ingram. For the same logic that Skylar's saying, he's going to come off this suspension just pissed off, ready to go. Alvin Kamara, yeah, you've looked great. I'm the runner here. You go catch that fucking football. I'm going to run between the tackles. I'm going to rush for 100 yards in my first game back of the year. Mark Ingram's going to go off
really
on Monday Night Football against Washington.
I like
Look
it.
for 150 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, I'll remember that one.
Fuego.
Write that down. Ingram's going off.
So is he your must superstar of the week, or is he just your start?
No. That is like if you want to win this week, you better freaking start him.
All right.
Trade for him now if you can.
Skylar, who's your superstar of the week?
My superstar? There's a lot of good ones. I want Juju Smith. I think that's my superstar of the week. Pittsburgh and Atlanta's going to go back and forth with a shootout. Juju's going to get a lot of looks considering how the Atlanta's defense is all beat up. So Juju's got to be my must superstar of the week.
So my superstar is actually going to be Melvin Gordon. I just think Austin Eckler, while he does have a really nice role, I think Gordon's been tearing it up phenomenally lately, and I think he continues that trend this week.
He's going to be a PPR monster this week, too,
Yeah,
I think. Gets Oakland's defense, there you know linebacker covering him.
No, I'm staying with Mark Ingram for mine.
Okay.
There we go.
Good deal. So that's just about wraps up our NFL episode. If you haven't already, go ahead and switch to our college football episode. We got a really great rundown for you guys over there as well. Go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at the PTP Podcast. We're also that name on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, the Pile on the Podcast.
Spreaker,
Yeah,
iTunes.
Spreaker, iTunes, please and thank you. Leave us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. Hopefully it's 5-star worthy. Boys, do you have any other notes, comments, questions, ideas, concerns?
No, I think we really hit it off good this week.
Yeah, good deal, good deal. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to sitting down with you guys every Wednesday. Episodes come out at 12 Mountain Standard Time. For the meantime, my name is Donnie Druin.
Richard Bradshaw.
Skylar Burkhart.
And this
I'm
has
better than
been
you.
the Pylon Podcast.